Yeah, I feel so, sticky and icky from the last video. I don't even want to think about what we had just talked about with the Edmonton Oilers, but in order for me to completely, feel good about being a content creator again, I wanted to make a video where I just end up gushing. Gushing. You know the Fruit Gushers meme that we did, 2 years ago, back when we were doing, the Fall Guys videos and everything? Yeah, like that. Just like that. I wanted to go out there and start gushing about Elias Pettersson, because I feel like we really do need to talk about this guy. Holy, there's so much good stuff going on with the Vancouver Canucks and Elias Pettersson right now that I feel like this video is the one where I go to go out there and just share it all. So the reason I'm making this video, the primary reason pretty much, is because yesterday, the Vancouver media went out there and did an in-person interview with Elias Pettersson. Now, this is, I believe, the second scrum interview that they have done so far. The first one being with Bo Horvat 2 days ago. By the way, yes, the NHL restrictions on interviews, they're gone. It's all back to the old school format of having all the media members pointing their several microphones in the face of one guy while they're all crowding him in front of his locker room stall. And for Elias Pettersson, boy oh boy, was his interview just amazing. It's 7 minutes long. I'll leave a link in the description. Go ahead and listen to this if you have the free time, because what Pettersson goes out there and talks about in his preseason, it's a preseason interview, right? Preseason, mid-training camp interview. It's just so potent, because what he really focuses on is the confidence. He talks about how he felt at the beginning of last season and how he didn't have a good start and how there was so much going on with him mentally that he needed to work out, that towards the end of the season, he was a lot more confident, he was scoring more points, and there was so much wisdom and maturity that I felt from listening to what Petey had to say, assessing his 2021-2022, and comparing the start of the season to the end of the season. Even the media guys go out there and say, hey man, do you think that the first half of the season wasn't really all too much your fault because you had the wrist injuries to deal with, you didn't have a training camp, you had the contract situation looming over it? Even when somebody goes out there and says that, Pettersson kind of looks up and he's like, nah, not really, bro. It's kind of just me focusing on the wrong things and trying to play into the expectations a little bit too much, and it ended up hurting my game more so than I wanted it to. So there was so much accountability that Elias Pettersson went out there and took for himself in the preseason interview, and I don't know what it was. I was kind of just I don't know, I think I was making breakfast or something, watching and listening to the Elias Pettersson interview, and while it was going on, and just hearing what he had to say about his confidence, about the progression of the team, and how he wants to grow, and how he feels like he's got another gear, and how he learned quickly that young players in the NHL always have more to give as they get older, and for him, he said he was grateful that he went through the bad slump to start out 2021-2022, because he was able to get out of it, and he knows how he's able to get out of it. Just every point that he made, I got super excited thinking about it. And I'm like, maybe part of it has to do with the environment, because, obviously doing a Zoom interview where you're sitting in front of a computer screen and a webcam talking to reporters on Zoom for only 3 minutes, it's way different than being in a full-on media scrum for the 7 minutes that Petey was. And in the Bo interview from 2 days ago, you could actually see the dynamic of how that affects the questions and the answers, because people are talking over each other, interviewers are talking over themselves, trying to get the next question in and respond. Lots of follow-up questions there. It was really nice to see. They toned it down a lot in terms of cutting each other off for the Petey interview. I think everybody's just kind of a little bit rusty, because it's been 2 years since we've had regular media scrums in the locker room, and I'm so happy to see them come back. Even Pettersson kind of joked around saying, yeah, I haven't spoken English in a while, so this is kind of tough. So it's kind of funny, and I think we're going to have to get used to seeing more of these types of interviews and seeing more of the realism behind the media training and everything, because with this sort of environment comes a lot more room for authenticity, and that's what Pettersson provided when he was talking about his own personal assessment about himself and the hockey, how he's going to play in 2022, 2023, and how he wants to play. I just got super excited listening to it, and I hope everybody goes out there and does the same. Furthermore, we have ourselves some other things that I wanted to highlight when it came to Elias Pettersson, starting out with the actual splits, because I didn't realize you could do this. You could just go over and Google Elias Pettersson splits or any other player splits, and there's a really good page on Yahoo Sports. I don't like to actually go out there and shout out websites that do this stuff. Elite Prospects is the only one that we really use on a day-to-day basis, but on Yahoo Sports, they do have the splits of how players performed. And this is when I got super excited, even more excited than just watching the Pettersson interview, because what I did was I looked at the Pettersson splits pre-All-Star break and post-All-Star break. We know that Elias Pettersson kind of suffered the most in his NHL season at the beginning of the year. You could debate, it's Travis Green's fault, it's this, it's that, it's whatever, but in the month of October, he only had 4 points in 9 games. In the month of November, he had 7 points in 14 games. In the month of December, he had 6 points in 10 games. Before the All-Star break, Elias Pettersson had 24 points in 46 games played. That's not really all too great. Do the math right here. 24 divided by 46, multiplied out by 82. Elias Pettersson was on pace for 43 points. And when we consider that Pettersson had 2 straight 66-point years to kick off his NHL career at 19 and 20 years old, that's definitely not great. But as Pettersson said in the interview, around the midway point, around the Boudreaux bump and everything, he really started to get things going. And in the last split of the season after the All-Star break, Pettersson had 44 points in 34 games played, which is an absolutely crazy point production metric, because if you do 44 divided by 34, multiply that out by 82, Elias Pettersson, post-All-Star break, was on pace for 106 points. And if you do the goals only, let's do 21 goals in 34 games played, multiplied out by 82, the guy was on pace for 51 goals. I knew Pettersson really exploded after the All-Star break, and his second half of the split was incredible, but I didn't realize that it was that good. 50-goal pace in a 34-game sample to end off 2021-2022, or I guess you could just say 2022. That's even better than what Miller did, man. A 50-goal pace in the span of half a year's worth of play? That's phenomenal. And when I hear Elias Pettersson talking about his second half of the year last year and how he wants to replicate that and be like that for most of this year, I don't know. Could we see an Elias Pettersson getting 100 points on the year? I mean, we got Miller getting 99 last time, so who knows if Petey is next up on that list. Furthermore, we also had ourselves the fantasy projections. This is what Cam Robinson tweeted out about the Elite Prospects Fantasy Guide. So what they're saying on their own fantasy projection list is that Elias Pettersson projects to get 77 games played in 22-23. By the way, thank goodness. Knock on wood, he actually goes out there and plays the full season, but if he just misses 5, I guess that's okay. But they're projecting him to get 38 goals, 52 assists for 90 total points, and, I mean, that's not a bad number. Of course, the Elite Prospects Fantasy Guide, they're not going to go out there and try to get, the highest capacity ceiling of what a player should be able to get, right? Because Pettersson, I think if he gets 90 points, there would be a lot of people that wouldn't really be all too surprised, because he is just that gosh darn good. He's that gosh darn talented and confident. He said that he's playing with more confidence, especially during the scrimmage yesterday, so if he gets that amount of points, people shouldn't really be all too surprised, and that's kind of what the fantasy guide is trying to highlight here, because, of course, they're trying to project what players are going to get for fantasy purposes. So if you have a keeper league or a draft coming up soon, fantasy draft, you could say, okay, Pettersson is projected to getting 90 points on the year. Let's take him, because if he gets 90 points, then he'll be a pretty good pickup at, 10th overall in your fantasy draft or whatever the heck it is. The ceiling, I feel, is a lot higher. If Pettersson was scoring at a 106-point pace after the All-Star break last year, and he keeps up that level of confidence for a full 82, I don't know. I want to see Miller go out there and get 90-plus points. I want to see Pettersson get 90-plus points. I want to see Pettersson get 100. I want to see Pettersson get 50 goals, because if he was scoring at that pace, I don't want to go out there and say that this guy is not capable of anything. So, talk in the comments all your thoughts about Elias Pettersson. I feel a lot better now as a content creator making a video about something that I'm super happy to be talking about, because Elias Pettersson is here and he's ready to go, baby. No more injuries, no more... Okay, knock on wood. Let's just do that really quickly. Knock on wood. No more injuries, no more contract negotiation problems. Let's leave that up to Bo Horvat, because him and his agent have the contract discussions to go for with them. But talk in the comments your thoughts about Pettersson, the Canucks, and where you could see Petey going from here. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 9. and bye.